Little Claire loved to spend time in the attic of her family's old house. There was always something interesting to find there: old books, strange toys, dusty paintings. One day, while rummaging through some boxes in a corner, she came across a doll. It was strange. Its body was made of fabric with a worn-out flowered dress, and instead of a face, there was a smooth, empty surface. "You're so unusual," Claire said, picking up the doll. She brought it downstairs, showing it to her parents. "Don't touch it," her mother said sternly. "This doll has a bad history." But Claire just laughed. She thought her mother was just trying to scare her. She named the doll Maggie and decided that it was her new friend. That evening, Claire put the doll on the shelf in her room and went to bed, but in the morning she found Maggie on her desk, although she clearly remembered leaving her somewhere else. "You moved it yourself?" her father had said when she told him about it at breakfast. But Claire knew she hadn't. The next day, Maggie was on the bed, right next to Claire's pillow. Her smooth face seemed to be looking right at her. With each passing day, Claire felt that something strange was happening to Maggie. She no longer seemed so empty. Faint outlines began to appear on her face, as if someone had tried to draw eyes and a mouth. "Do you see this?" Claire asked her mother, showing her the doll. "It's just dust and your imagination," her mother answered, waving her hand. But Claire knew that was not true. The next evening, playing in her room, she looked at Maggie again. Now on the smooth surface of her face, her eyes were clearly visible, empty, without pupils, and her mouth, which was slightly curved in a weak smile. "You're changing," Claire whispered, her voice trembling. She tried to hide the doll in the closet, but in the morning she found it on the table. The face became even more distinct. Pupils appeared that looked straight at her, and the smile became wider. "Mom! Dad! Something is wrong with this doll!" Claire screamed, running into the kitchen. But her parents waved it off, deciding that the girl was just scaring herself. That night, Claire woke up with a strange feeling, as if someone was looking at her. She turned on the light and screamed. Maggie was sitting on the bed, her face now fully formed. It was Claire's face, the woman from Caroline's dreams, Opal. "It can't be," the girl whispered, feeling tears welling up in her eyes. The doll tilted her head slightly and her smile grew wider. Claire was terrified. Her own face looked at her with a silent, sinister smile. The doll sat on the bed, motionless, but it seemed as if it was about to move. The girl wanted to throw it away, but her hands were shaking. "You can't be real," she whispered, trying to convince herself that this was all a dream. The next morning, her parents found Maggie in the same place where Claire had sat before going to bed. Now the doll was an exact copy of her. The same hair, the same eyes, the same clothes. "Claire?" her mother called, looking into the room, but the girl was nowhere to be found. They searched the entire house, but there was no trace of Claire. The only thing left was the doll with their daughter's face sitting on the bed. Every night, the parents heard rustling sounds and quiet children's laughter in the room. When they went inside, the doll was always in a different place. Now they say that you can hear someone calling for help in the house, and if you look at the doll for a long time, then in its eyes for a moment, you can see the face of a girl desperately knocking on the glass, as if from another reality.